I discovered my wife Isabella's affair with a man named Caleb, which had been going on for a year. This shocking revelation occurred during our family vacation in Southern California, completely shattering my worldview. Welcome to the Butterfly Tumblr Radio channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Growing up in a small Florida town, I never imagined my life would take so many twists and turns. My childhood was typical, filled with neighborhood play and homework. Fascinated by airplanes, I joined the Marines right after high school. My time as an avionics technician at El Toro Marine Corps Air Station in California was both challenging and rewarding, setting the stage for my future career. After my service, I moved to Pittsburgh for college and pursued a degree in software engineering. There I met Isabella on a blind date. Her bright smile and caring nature captivated me. Isabella, a nurse with a compassionate heart, and I quickly fell in love. Married and had 2 sons, Liam and Nathan. Today was the first day of our Southern California vacation. We had just returned from Knott's Berry Farm, a place I fondly remembered from my Marine days. The day was filled with laughter and we chose to unwind by the pool. Life seemed perfect. Isabella and I had a fulfilling career, a beautiful home, 2 cars and our wonderful sons. Despite the ups and downs in our marriage, we always managed to navigate through our problems. I felt incredibly fortunate not realizing this would be our last weekend together as a family. Let me introduce myself. I'm Ethan McCon 39, a lead software developer at an aerospace firm specializing in avionics for military and commercial aircraft. After serving 4 years as an avionics technician, I joined the firm 13 years ago. I met Isabella shortly after moving to Pittsburgh. She's 3 years younger, a nurse at a large medical clinic. We fell in love, married and bought a house on the outskirts of Pittsburgh. We have 2 sons, Liam 10 and Nathan 8. Isabella convinced me to have a vasectomy after Nathan was born, which I reluctantly agreed to. We had good jobs, a nice house, 2 cars and an active life. Despite typical marital issues, we always work things out. At that moment I had no idea my world was about to collapse, marking our last weekend together as a family watching Isabella put on her new bikini. I admired her youthful appearance. Forget the pool, I teased. Let's stay here and warm the bed. She laughed, playfully, slapped my arm and sent me to check on the boys. Our site, more like a small apartment, had 2 bedrooms, each with its own bathroom and a kitchenette. The boys slept in one room and Isabella and I in the other. After ensuring the boys were ready, we headed to the pool. I noticed Isabella engrossed in her phone. Find anything, I asked. She shook her head, just updating our relatives. Isabella's family lived in Pittsburgh while mine were retired in Florida. After playing in the water with the boys, I got out and dried off a tall, clean, shaven man. Around 30 approached us. He had short dark hair and wore shorts and a t-shirt. Caleb introduced himself and shook our hands. Mind if I join you? He asked. Sitting next to Kay. There were plenty of free chairs, so I wondered why he chose ours. Before I sat down, he handed us a business card showing he was an account manager for Acme Medical Supplies based in Columbus, Ohio. About 3 hours from us. Isn't Acme one of the companies your clinic uses? I asked Isabella, recalling their vehicles outside her clinic. She nodded yes, it's one of several we use. Turning to Caleb, she asked, have you ever been to Pittsburgh? Caleb nodded yes, about every 2 or 3 weeks my territory covers Columbus to Pittsburgh. So what brings you here? I asked. I'm here for conference starting this weekend. He said I'll be here most of the week. We learned that Caleb lived with his wife and 2 daughters in Zanesville, a town along Interstate 70 between Columbus and Pittsburgh. He described himself as a happily married man, joking about living in a house full of women. That's funny. Isabella said Ethan can only produce boys. Caleb spent time with us, even playing water volleyball with me and the boys. He seemed nice and nothing between him and Isabella seemed concerning, but my radar was on high alert. Eventually we decided it was time for dinner and Caleb said goodbye, hoping to see us again. We enjoyed our evening meal and headed to our room. Can you believe it? Isabella said in the bedroom. Maybe Caleb will get me the girl. I've always wanted what I said. Don't even joke about that. Remember, it was your idea for me to get surgery after Nathan was born, and I won't tolerate any cheating. Oh, I was just kidding. She said I wouldn't do that to you. I love you too much. I love you too. I replied, but there's nothing funny about what you're saying. Nothing more was said, but I thought I saw a flash of guilt on her face. Maybe I was reading too much into it. After spending time in the common area, we sent the boys to bed and headed to our room when I was ready for bed. Isabella said she couldn't sleep and asked if I minded her going for a late-night swim. I don't mind. I replied. Do you want me to join you? No, she said someone has to stay with the boys. I won't be long. Okay, I said, and she left. Our third-floor room overlooked the pool. I set up my camera on a tripod, loving to take candid shots of Isabella. She entered the pool area, swam, then sat on a lounge chair. Soon, Caleb arrived, still in shorts and a t-shirt, and they talked. She seemed to glance at our room, but I knew she couldn't see me in the dark. Then she leaned over and kissed him. I tried to zoom in, but they got up and left together, and I lost sight of them. Had she really cheated on me with someone we just met? Her phone was on the dresser, and I considered checking it but decided against it, not wanting to invade her privacy. I waited, but Isabella didn't return. 2 hours later she came in, smelling different in a way I couldn't pinpoint. It's about time you came back. I said I saw you leave the pool hours ago. Sorry, she replied. Caleb came down and we talked for a while. Then we went to a restaurant for drinks and lost track of time. She lied. I thought I know what booze smells like, and she didn't have any on her breath. Suddenly I felt nauseous. I rushed to the bathroom, locked the door, and grew up. Isabella knocked. Honey, are you okay? She asked. I'm nauseous. I said, washing my face and sitting down. Why is she doing this to us? I wondered. Was our whole marriage a sham? Are the boys even mine? I sat there overwhelmed with thoughts. Isabella knocked again. Do you need a doctor? No, I'll be out soon, I replied. After cleaning up, I returned to the bedroom, avoiding her. We lay down, and for the first time I didn't kiss her goodnight. I love you, she said quietly. I said nothing. Good night, she finally said, turning away. I thought I heard her sob, but I didn't care. The next morning I got up exhausted from a night of nightmares about Isabella and Caleb. I said nothing to Isabella as I got ready. I had promised the kids a trip to Disneyland, and nothing would make me break that promise. How are you feeling? Isabella asked as we dressed. I feel like crap, I growled. Maybe you should stay here, she suggested. No, I said. I promised the boys Disneyland, and I'm not breaking my promise. She recoiled but stayed silent. We went downstairs for breakfast, saying little to each other. Caleb joined us at our table, sitting between Isabella and me. I thought I saw him smirk, and Isabella smiled at him. So what's on your agenda? He asked. We're going to Disneyland. Isabella said, mind if I come along? What about your convention? I asked, trying to sound neutral. Oh, it's just boring seminars, he said. I've heard it all before. Well, Caleb, I think Ethan wanted a family outing, Isabella said, looking at me. That's right, I said. I promised my family a day at Disneyland. Family is the most important thing, he said. Too bad you didn't think of that last night. I thought have a good time, Caleb said, standing up as we left. I thought I saw him signal. K, what's gotten into you? Isabella asked on the bus to Disneyland. You were so cold to Caleb. I could ask the same of you, dear wife, I said, emphasizing wife, or I could ask who attacked you, Ethan. That's not nice. She said, pouting. Please, I said sarcastically, let's just have a good day for the boys. Okay, she said, I don't know what's gotten you so upset, but I'm sorry. Yeah, I replied neutrally. Normally I would have hugged and kissed her, but not this time. After last night, I didn't want to touch her. She leaned back frustrated. I hope you won't be mad for the rest of our vacation. She said. I looked at her but didn't respond. We spent the day at Disneyland ensuring the boys had a good time. I mostly ignored Isabella but tried to remain polite for the boys' sake. I often saw her texting. Was she texting Caleb? Who knows? I thought after lunch the tired family got back on the bus. I looked at Isabella. So did you have a good day? I asked. She nodded. Yeah, but it would have been better if you'd talked to me. Sorry, I said, I'm still not feeling well after last night. Maybe you should get a good night's sleep. She suggested. Yeah, maybe, I thought sarcastically, as if sleep will fix your cheating. We rode in silence and had lunch back at the hotel in our room. I tried one last time with Isabella. I hugged her. I'm sorry I've been such a bear. I said, let's put the kids to bed and enjoy some private time. I'd love to, but I just got my period. She said, what? I thought I knew her last period ended before we left Pittsburgh. Well, I'm tired. I think I'll lie down. Go ahead. She said, I'm going to the pool. I watched her leave and set up my camera to catch them together. Sure enough, they met at the pool. I zoomed in and got clear photos and video of them. They left together and I was sure they were heading to his room. I sat on the bed wondering what to do. Then I saw her purse and phone on the dresser. I unlocked her phone using our son's birthday. I went through her messages and realized what was happening. She and Caleb had been in a serious relationship for a year. He was the Acme rep at her clinic and visited every other week. Recently she decided he should get her pregnant with a girl. They planned this vacation so they could be together. Caleb's wife knew about their affair. They planned for Caleb to accidentally meet us at the pool and for Isabella to spend every night with him. She even agreed to turn me down all week. In their messages, Caleb asked, what will you tell your husband? I'll say I'm getting my period. He won't come near me. Then she replied, he'll suspect something. Caleb texted, not yet. She wrote, you know when you get pregnant. He thinks the boys are his too. She continued, but they aren't. I took a DNA test. I'll email it to you. Damn, why stay with him? He asked. He's a good provider and great with the kids. I don't have to worry about getting pregnant by him after his vasectomy. Do you know who the real fathers are? Caleb asked. Yes. She replied, an old boyfriend is JK's father and the doctor I used to work for is Nathan's. You're something else. He said. I hope he never finds out. He won't. She assured him if he divorces me, I'll destroy him financially and keep him away from the boys. You're cold, he said, the coldest. She agreed. In the morning she texted Caleb. He hardly spoke to me. Maybe Hunes figured it out. Caleb said no, he thinks it's something he ate. Are we still on for tonight? Yes, he replied, see you at the pool. I'll be back around 8 in the morning. She said, then you have me all night. He wants to take us to the tar pits. Boring. Okay, see you tonight. He said, see you later, lover. She replied, good thing Isabella wasn't around at that moment. People say the opposite of love is indifference, not hate. But for me it was blind, seething hatred. She had lied to me all these years and robbed me of a real family. I needed to find out about the DNA test she mentioned, so I searched her email. Sure enough, there it wasn't, a folder labeled stuff. The test dated a year and a half ago showed both boys had different fathers, and I wasn't one of them. Furious, I forwarded the document to my email and searched her other emails. There were explicit messages and photos from Caleb and other men dating back 8 years. I forwarded those too. I rummaged through her purse and found birth control pills. Why would she need these if I had a vasectomy? I wondered her day planner had DK written on several days likely when she saw Caleb. It also had a note to stop BC and no S. On the same day. She must have stopped birth control and cut me off to save herself for Caleb. I photographed the planner and pills and put everything back. Then I had an idea at work. We used an app to track all activity on an employee's phone suspected of passing trade secrets. I set up a similar account to monitor Isabella's phone within minutes. I could access everything from my phone, tablet or computer. I also installed an app to record her phone conversations and another to track her phone's location. I knew this wouldn't hold up in court, but I felt justified. I decided to get the boys and myself away from Isabella. I called the airline and booked a flight to Pittsburgh, leaving before midnight. I then called Isabella's parents. Her mom, Julie, answered. "Hi, Mom, I said I need a big favor." "Sure, Ethan, is everything okay?" "Not really, I'm bringing the kids home tonight." "Can they stay with you for a week?" "I'll explain when I get there." "Of course, is something wrong between you and Isabella?" "I'll explain later." "Please don't say anything." To Isabella, I promise. She said. I packed my bags quickly, then woke the boys Gatet up. "Guys, we need to pack and leave now." They looked scared and tired. "What's going on?" asked Liam. "It's an emergency. We're going home." "You'll stay with your grandparents for the week." "Now move it." "Where's Mom?" asked Nathan. "Isn't she coming?" "No, she's with Caleb," said Liam. I looked at him surprised. "How do you know that?" I asked. "She's been texting him all day." He said. I remembered seeing her on the phone. "Yeah, come on, we're leaving in a few minutes." I helped them pack and wrote a note for Isabella. "You weren't here when we got up, so I took the kids out for the day. I might be late. See you later." I wondered if Isabella would notice I hadn't left any affectionate words, but I didn't care. She'd probably read the note and head straight back to Caleb. We grabbed our luggage and checked out. I informed the night manager that my wife was still in the room but didn't know how long she'd stay. "I hope you enjoyed your stay." The manager said yes, thank you. I replied outside. We boarded an airport shuttle and the driver loaded our luggage at the airport. My new reservation was confirmed and we went through security on the plane to Pittsburgh. The boys fell asleep quickly but I stayed awake, researching Pennsylvania divorce laws. It's a no-fault state, but infidelity can affect proceedings. I would likely pay child support, but the evidence of her infidelity might help. I knew I needed a good lawyer, so I planned to ask Cliff, my father-in-law, for a recommendation using an app. I monitored Isabella's phone, which had archived all its contents exhausted. I decided not to review everything again and instead searched for Caleb's address and phone number, finding it in Zanesville. Finally, I tried to get some sleep. I woke as the plane descended into Pittsburgh. We disembarked, collected our bags and headed to the car. I called Cliff and Julie to let them know we were on our way. They greeted us warmly and brought us inside. "What's going on, son?" Julie asked. "I thought everything was okay between you and Isabella." "I thought so too," I said, "but I found out it was all a lie." "What do you mean?" asked Cliff. I showed them the DNA test from K's emails and her messages with Caleb. "Oh my God," Julie said. "How could she be so stupid?" "I'm sorry, Ethan. I thought she outgrew that after marrying you." "What do you mean?" I asked. Isabella was wild in her younger years. Julie explained it started in high school and got worse in college. She was constantly dating different guys. She was even engaged once but broke it off. "She never told you about this?" "No," I replied. "Yeah, it was during college." Julie continued. She was engaged to a guy named Derek Jacku. They went to high school together. She pulled out a photo album. Here it is, she said, showing me a prom picture of Isabella and Derek. I immediately noticed Derek looked a lot like JN. I showed the picture to Julie. Is it just me or does he look a lot like Johan? I asked Julie and Cliff examined the picture. I think you're right. Julie said they look very similar, don't they? Cliff. He nodded. Of course they look alike. Cliff said, do you think he could be Junk's biological father? It looks like it to me. I said, but a DNA test would prove it. Is this guy still around? Yes, Julie said his family owns a deli here. He makes the best pastrami. He probably still works there. She wrote down the name and location of the deli and handed it to me. I'll have to visit him. I thought. I turned to Cliff. Can you recommend a good divorce lawyer? Yes, he replied. Are you sure you want to pursue this? Absolutely, I said. Isabella has lied to me for 13 years and now she's cheating with some salesman in California. I understand, he said. You've been good to her and I consider you a son, but she's my daughter and I still love her. Do what you need to do, but promise me one thing. What's that? I asked. Promise you won't physically hurt her. He said. I nodded. I promise. I said thank you. He said also come over for dinner tonight with the kids. We need to talk in detail. I'll be here. I said. He handed me a business card, Evelyn Stone. It read with an address and phone number. Check, the best, call her office early Monday. Thanks. I said. I'll see you tonight. Please don't let Isabella know we're here. Mom's the word. Julie said. We said goodbye and I hugged the boys, promising to come back tonight. I left and headed home without Isabella and the boys. The house felt dark and empty. Everywhere I looked reminded me of happier times. Now, tainted by her lies, I wiped away tears, and vowed never to cry over Isabella again. Looking in the bathroom mirror, I realized I hadn't slept properly in almost 2 days. God, I said to myself, I look terrible. I brushed my teeth and crawled under the covers, falling asleep almost immediately. I walked into our hotel room at 8:00 a.m. on Sunday, hoping to see my husband and boys. After how Ethan treated me the day before, I was nervous. Thankfully, I had showered before leaving Caleb's room. To avoid Ethan smelling anything suspicious, I opened the door, expecting the usual morning noise from Shani and our restless boys, but it was silent. Worried, I went to our bedroom and found a note on the dresser. K. You weren't here when we got up, so I took the kids out for the day. I might be late, see you later. Short and to the point, typical of Ethan. Notably, it lacked his usual affectionate words. He was probably still upset about Friday night. I decided not to call or text. It wouldn't help given his mood. Besides, I wasn't interested in seeing the tar pits. Anyway, I saw my phone on. The dresser, unlocked it and noticed the Messenger app was open. That's odd. I thought I usually close my apps. I dialed Caleb's number. Hey love, I said when he answered. Ethan and the boys left early and might be back late tonight. I'm free for the day and night if you want. Has he left already? Caleb asked. Yes, I said. He got tired of waiting for me. His loss. I'll meet you downstairs for breakfast. Then we can hit the pool and have some fun later. We'll do, lover. He said. I can't wait. I replied. I grabbed a few things from the dresser and left. The clock showed 1:30 p.m. when I woke up. I must have been more tired than I thought. I got up, wiped my eyes and headed to the bathroom. Being Sunday, I couldn't do much with the lawyer, but I had one crucial task. I checked my phone and saw Isabella hadn't texted or called figures. She spent the day with Caleb after showering and dressing. I checked her phone activity on my tablet. She had called a number with a 740 area code, Caleb's area. Listening to the call, I realized she planned to spend the day and night with him. Her tracker showed she was still at the hotel. I found the deli where Derek Jacku worked and headed there. Inside, a man behind the counter wearing a name tag that said Derek turned around. He'd put on weight since high school, but I recognized him. "Are you Derek Jack?" "I am." Asked. "Depends on who you are," he said, smiling. "If you're a bill collector." "No," I laughed. "I'm Ethan McKnight." "Nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you." He said, "What can I do for you?" "Do you know Kay Williams?" I asked. "Yeah, I did." He said, "Back in high school, in college, I heard she got married to me 13 years ago." I said. The smile vanished from his face. "Weren't you engaged to her once?" I asked. "Yes," he said, "but I caught her with another man, so I broke it off." "You took her to prom, right?" I asked. "Yes," he replied. "She was pretty wild back then. I hoped she'd settle down, but I guess not." "Did you see her?" "About 11 years ago." I asked. His face redeemed. "Yes," he said quietly. "She wanted to talk, said she wanted to make amends. She asked me to get her pregnant, claiming her husband liked it." "Not exactly." I said. He looked at his wedding band. "I wasn't married yet." Then he said, "I met my wife 6 months later." "Did you hear from Isabella?" After that I asked. "Yes, she said she had a baby boy named JN." He replied. I showed him a picture of Liam. Striking resemblance. "Don't you think?" "Yeah," he said. "What do you want from me? Would you testify in court?" I asked. "Tell the judge what you just told me." "Sure." He said. "She played both of us. Would you undergo a DNA test to confirm you're Junk's father? Are you coming to me for support?" He asked nervously. "No," I said. "I don't know what the court will decide. I've been raising John for 10 years. He thought for a moment. "Okay," he said. "What do I need to do?" I pulled out a cotton swab. "Just let me take some saliva from your cheek," I said. He opened his mouth and I swabbed his cheek, then put the swab in a marked bag and pocketed it. "There's something else," I said. "What?" he asked. "I'll have a pound of your pastrami, please." "I'll pay for it." He grinned widely. "You have good taste. We make the best pastrami in the state." "So I heard," I said. He handed me a sample, which was the best pastrami I'd ever tasted. "Very tasty." I said. "I'll add a sandwich for you at no extra charge." He said. "Sounds good." "Derek," I said, "I haven't had lunch yet." He weighed a pound of meat, bagged it and made a sandwich, wrapping it in paper. I thanked him and paid for the pastrami. "Ethan, you seem professional." He said. "I'm sorry about everything and I hope it works out for you." "Thanks, Derek," I said, "and thanks for your honesty. I'll see you around. See ya," he said. As I left, I drove home eating the sandwich. I had another important task. I put the meat in the fridge and finished the sandwich on my tablet. I checked Isabella's phone activity. No new messages. She didn't even care where we were. I went through her emails again and found exchanges with Dr. Alexander, who performed my vasectomy. He asked if she had talked to me about it. "Yes, I have," she answered. I told him I was having a hard time with Nathan and he agreed. "Good," he replied. "I'll take care of it myself. He won't be able to have kids when I'm done." "Why don't you want kids with him? Have you looked at him?" "No way," she responded. I couldn't believe what I was reading. She and the doctor conspired to make me infertile while making me believe I was doing it for her. I copied incriminating emails, photos and videos onto a flash drive for the divorce. I discovered she had affairs with at least 5 other men after Dr. Alexander left the clinic. These happened while I was away for work 3 or 4 times a year. Then she met Caleb and things changed dramatically. Caleb and his wife were in a club and wanted Isabella and me involved. Isabella declined on my behalf and they kept the affair going. I wondered how I hadn't noticed. How long would this have continued if I hadn't found out? How would I explain this to the boys? I had always told them honesty was best, even if it hurt. One day I'd have to tell them, damn her. I thought realizing I had to leave soon for dinner with the boys and my in-laws, I showered again feeling dirty. After reading Isabella's emails at home, I rang the doorbell and Cliff let me in. The boys bustled around me. I love those boys so much and wish I was their biological father. We had dinner and then moved to the family room. Dad Liam said, "Are you and Mom getting a divorce?" I nodded. "I'm afraid so, son. Did I do something?" he asked. Tears in his eyes. I pulled him close. "No, son, you haven't done anything. You're both the best sons anyone could wish for. Then why don't you love Mom any more?" "It's hard to explain," I said. "Sometimes moms and dads go through things that can't be fixed, but I love you and always will be there for you." "Okay," I hugged both boys, comforting them, but they knew things would never be the same. "Listen," I said, "go upstairs and get ready for bed. I need to talk to Grandma and Grandpa." "Okay," they said, leaving the room. I spent the next hour telling Cliff and Julie what I knew. I showed them the messages, emails, photos and videos. They were outraged at their daughter's behavior, but watched the videos anyway. "It looks like she's been doing this our entire marriage," I told them. "That explains what happened last summer." Julie said, "What do you mean?" I asked. "Last summer when you were at Edward's for a week, Isabella brought the boys over saying she had a girl's birthday party at her office and might stay late. We didn't see her until Sunday afternoon." I remembered that trip. I had to oversee software testing and was gone for a week. I found emails from that time between Isabella, Caleb and Alicia revealing she spent the week with them. I showed the emails to Cliff and Julie. "I'm so sorry, son," Cliff said. "You deserve better. You've been a wonderful husband and father." "Thanks, Dad." I said, "I'm sorry to drag you into this, but I can't stay with Isabella." I called Moran. He said she can see you at 7:30 tomorrow morning. "Thanks," I said. "I'll be there. I'll bring everything, including financial documents." "Good, Evelyn is the best. Just don't do anything stupid." "I won't, I promise." I said, "What about the biological fathers?" he asked. "I met Derek today. HEK, a nice guy, and was honest, but I don't know about Dr. Alexander." "Yes, he's a cocky guy. I'd like to see you rein him in." I laughed. "I'd like that too." Realizing I had a lot to do, I told them I'd better get going. "I'd like to say goodnight to the boys." "Good idea." Julie said. I went upstairs, hugged the boys, told them I loved them and promised to see them soon. I said goodnight to Cliff and Julie and headed home. I gathered all our financial information, printed it out and put it in a folder along with incriminating emails. I copied pictures and videos onto a flash drive. I checked Isabella's phone one last time, saw no activity and called it a day. I couldn't believe she hadn't texted to check on the boys. The next day I got up early, saw that Isabella still hadn't texted or called, showered, shaved, dressed and headed to Evelyn's office. I met her at 7:30, Mr. McKnight. I presume she said, "Please call me Ethan." I said, "You must be Miss Stone." "It's Mrs. Stone, but you can call me Moran." She said, "I see you got your father-in-law's message." I did. He said you were the best. I am. She said, "My secretary won't be here for another half hour. Let me get us coffee and we'll start." "Sounds good." I said. She made us coffee and escorted me to her office. "Your father-in-law tells me you want a divorce. Is that true?" she asked. "Yes, it is." I replied, "Good, tell me what's going on." I told her everything, showed her the emails, texts, DNA, form, and handed her the thumb drive with photos and videos. "And you haven't heard from her since you left California?" "Nothing." I said. "Not a text or call? That won't look good in court." "You've identified the biological fathers?" "Yes," I said, mentioning my meeting with Derek. "I see divorce isn't about justice. It's usually about money. Mothers almost always get custody, fathers pay child and spousal support. Assets are split in half and the custodian usually gets the house. Pennsylvania is a no-fault state, but infidelity can be grounds for divorce. Is that what you want? Yes, I said we need to prove it to a judge, but you have a strong case. We can ask that spousal support not be awarded, but you might still pay alimony, depending on many factors, even if I'm not the biological father. I asked you raise the children for 10 years, she said, but we still have options. You said junior father is Dr. Nathan Alexander. Yes, I replied, realizing my youngest son was named after his real father, Hek, the one who gave you the vasectomy. Moran asked. Yes, I confirmed. Is that significant? Probably, she said thoughtfully. I'll work on that. Meanwhile, I'll draft a petition for her to get physical custody. But you'll have joint custody. That's likely what the court will decide. I'll also ask for minimal child support and no spousal support. We'll offer her the option to buy out your half of the house. The court might order counseling. Are you interested? No, I said. She lied from the start and took away my chance for a family. Nothing will make me reconcile. I understand, she said, but the judge might still order it. Just be aware, I nodded. What about DNA testing? I asked. We have your wife's test results, but additional testing could be helpful. Go ahead if you want. We discussed more, and she gave me a list of steps to protect myself financially. Then she asked, when do you want the papers served? As soon as possible. I said, you said the hotel room in California is booked through Friday. Yes, but she can return anytime. She probably doesn't know I've left good. We'll serve her at the airport if she comes back early. Call me if I don't answer, leave a message. Meanwhile, don't do anything rash. Stay strong for your boys. Thank you. I said, is there anything else? Not now, but contact me if you hear from her. I will. I said, how much do I owe you? I blushed at the amount but knew it was necessary. I wrote a check, handed it to her and left feeling a bit better. I still hated Isabella, but at least I was taking action on the way home. I went to the bank and followed Evelyn's advice. I withdrew half the money and opened a new account in my name, then paid off and closed the joint credit cards and ordered one for myself. Isabella had her own card, which I also paid from our joint account. By the time I got home, it was almost 11:00 a.m. 8:00 California time, and I figured if Isabella was going to call it would be soon at 8 a.m. Monday. I entered our hotel room, unsure of what I'd find. I hadn't heard from Ethan yesterday and I was worried about the boys. I knew they were safe with him, but it would have been nice to hear something. I unlocked the door, but the room was eerily quiet. Where were they? I called out but no one answered. The boys' beds were made and their clothes and toys were gone. I ran to our room and saw that Ethan's stuff was gone too. The note he left Saturday was still on the dresser untouched. I realized he knew everything. I called him. Hi, Ethan said. Honey, it's me. Where are you? Are the boys? Okay, what's going on? Like you care? He said angrily. Of course I care, I love you and miss you, huh? Is that why you waited 36 hours to contact me? Too busy with Caleb to notice we weren't there. What are you talking about? I knew the boys were safe with you and you hate using your phone nonsense. You knew I'd be gone, so you spent the day and night with your buddy. Don't lie to me. I know everything. What do you mean? Everything, I asked. Nervous, I found the DNA test. The boys aren't mine. I know who their fathers are and I know you schemed to keep me from having children. You lied. Our entire marriage, even this vacation, was an excuse to be with Caleb. Ethan. It's not what you think, I said, trying to deflect. You don't have to tell me that you schemed to deprive me of my family. It's over. We're done. I've already seen a lawyer about a divorce. No, please, Ethan, I don't want a divorce. I don't care what you want anymore, Ethan. Please let me come home so we can talk this out. There's nothing to settle. The room is paid for through Friday, so stay there. You'll get the papers when you return. I cancelled your joint credit and debit cards, but you still have your personal card, Ethan, please. I started, but he hung up. I stared at the phone, contemplating whether to call back, but decided against it. The more I thought about what he said, the angrier I got. Yes, I had cheated many times. I was wild and thought marriage would change that. I stayed faithful for the first 2 years, but then I let my ex-fiancé, Derek, get me pregnant. I never really wanted kids with Ethan. He wasn't ugly, but he wasn't Brad Pitt either. I kept my affairs secret, waiting until Ethan was away on business trips after John was born. I had more lovers, and I made sure Ethan didn't find out I had an affair with Dr. Alexander, who got me pregnant with Nathan. I named Nathan after his real father, who wanted nothing to do with him. Dr. Alexander suggested Ethan get a vasectomy, and I convinced Ethan to do it. He believed my lie and agreed. After Nathan was born, I continued dating other men discreetly as long as Ethan remained in the dark. I thought everything would be okay. Somewhere along the way I met Mac. It's not his real name, but everyone calls him that. We slept together a few times, and then he made me a very lucrative offer. Everything we did was for cash, and I managed to save a good amount. I decided to keep it as a backup in case Ethan ever left me. Some of what I did for Mac was illegal, but he assured me everything would be fine if I stayed calm. Around that time I verified through a DNA test that neither of the boys were Shane's. I was pleased with the results and kept the document for future use. I knew I'd eventually have to tell Ethan the truth, and I didn't care about his reaction. What could he do? I felt it was my right to choose the father of my children. Ethan's reaction to finding out was extreme. We'd been through a lot over the years, and I didn't think this should be any different. I never thought he'd go through with the divorce. He always deferred to me. Until Friday night. He called me a promiscuous, which made me furious. Yes, I'm a promiscuous, but how dare he call me that? I'll show him what a real promiscuous can do. I started forming a plan, but then I worried if Ethan really knew everything, I could end up in jail. I made a call for my contact list. Cross, a male voice answered. Ma, it's Kay. Hi, Kay. How's California getting a good tan? Yeah, fun. I said we've got a problem. Ethan knows. He said he knows everything. Crap. Max said I had just finished talking to Isabella, deciding I couldn't take any more of her scams. I checked that the app one installed on her phone had downloaded the audio file and transcript of the conversation. She was talking to a number in Pittsburgh registered to someone named Mac. After the conversation ended, I waited for the app to copy the files to the cloud. Once available, I printed the transcript and played the audio. Cross, said a male voice. Mac. Isabella replied, it's me, Isabella. Hi, Isabella, how's California getting a good tan? Yeah, fun, she answered. We've got a problem. Ethan knows he knows everything. Mac asked. Yes, she said, and it has to be done Thursday night. Why Thursday? I'm sending him something tonight. He'll be upset and probably won't defend himself. Also, I'll be here until Friday, and he'll likely serve me divorce papers when I return divorce. Mac asked. Yes, he found out about me and is preparing divorce papers. What are you going to do to upset him? He thinks I'm a strumpet. I'm going to show him what a promiscuous I really am. Mac laughed. You are a promiscuous, aren't you? She giggled. Yeah, but he doesn't know how much it has to look like a home invasion. Does he have a weapon in the house? No, he wanted one, but I never allowed it. What about the boys? I don't want them hurt, but there can't be witnesses, understood? Yes, what's in it for me? Ethan has $1 million life insurance policy and his employer has a 50,000 policy. I'll give you 10,000. 000. You're asking a lot. Make it 25. 000. Okay. So you want me to eliminate your husband and possibly your boys for 25. 000. You want it done Thursday night, looking like a home invasion exactly, and I want you to handle it yourself. I know you've done it before. I understand you realize this is risky. We both do good. But I want to celebrate when you get back. She giggled. Sure, we can celebrate D-Day together. D-Day, yes, the day Ethan dies. They laughed. I've got to go. I won't call until I get back. Don't worry, I'll act like a distraught widow. Okay, I'll text you when it's ready. I can't wait. Talk later, bye. He said, ending the call. I sat there stunned. Isabella had promised 25. 000 to have me and possibly the boys eliminated on Thursday. Why and who is this cross guy? Is he a cop? What are they hiding? I sent the audio file and transcript to Evelyn's email and called her. She answered on the second ring, Evelyn Stone. She said, Evelyn, this is Ethan McKnight. I sent you files K and a guy named Cross plotted to eliminate me and the boys this Thursday. What, she asked. Shocked, are you sure? Yes, I sent the audio and transcript. How did you get them? Never mind, explain later. I'm heading to the office. I'll clear my calendar. Call the DA and my private investigator on my way, I said, grabbing my tablet, laptop and transcript printout. I headed to Evelyn's office. Two men were reviewing the transcript with her. Evelyn introduced them as Bill Rollins, her private investigator, and Ryan Jacobs, an assistant DA. How did you get this? Ryan asked. I explained about the apps I installed on Isabella's phone to archive her data, including emails, texts, videos, photos and calls, decrypting and saving them in the cloud. I'm not sure we can use this as evidence in court, given how you obtained it. He told me, look, Mr. Jacobs, I said the phones and services are in my name and I pay the bills. That's why I only use my phone for calls. Are you willing to testify under oath? He asked. Absolutely. I said I'll give you access to everything I have, so you can review it. I need to talk to my boss about it first. He said, do you know who this cross guy is? I shook my head, not directly. Isabella had an affair with him a couple of years ago, judging by her emails. He even sent her pictures and videos show me. He said I logged into the cloud account where Isabella's phone data was archived. In the stuff folder, I found emails with a long video showing Isabella with Cross. We watched until a clear shot of his face appeared. Crap. Bill said, I know that guy. Who is he? I asked. That's Nathaniel Cross. He said, Hune, a police captain in Pittsburgh. Are you sure? Ryan asked. Absolutely, Bill said. Ryan stared at the frame. I think you're right, he said. Can you print this out? He asked Moran. She plugged the laptop into her printer and soon had a color picture of Cross with K. Ryan looked at me. Can you give me access to all this information? He asked. I can. I replied. Do you have a laptop? He nodded, opened his bag and connected to Evelyn's Wi-Fi. I set it up to monitor everything. I think we should put Mr. McKnight in protective custody until this is sorted out. Ryan said to Moran, no way. She said he has 2 boys to take care of and putting him in custody could be a death sentence. I won't let Cross get to him. I have a couple of guys who can guard him. Bill said, do it. Moran said. Ryan looked at me. Do you know why they want to eliminate you? I showed them emails between Isabella and Nathaniel. I found this in her emails. I said. Ryan's eyes widened as he read. Holy crap. He said. What? Moran asked. Our office is working with the Pill and Booze Administration on prescription pills on the black market. We haven't found the source yet. He said. Where does your wife work? I told him about her clinic. You think my wife is involved? I asked. That's what these emails suggest. Cross might be involved too. If your wife thinks you know, she'll want you out of the way. He turned to Moran. Are you sure you don't want your client in protective custody to make it easier for Cross to get him? She asked. No, I want Cross behind bars immediately. It's not that easy. We need internal affairs and an investigation. He's a police captain, not a rookie. It'll take time. We don't have time for political nonsense. Moran said by the time you go through channels, my client could be dead. We know Cross plans to act on Thursday. That's less than 3 days. What do you want me to do? Ryan asked. Call your boss now. She said Hune probably at lunch. Ryan said Hune's probably heading back to his car. Call him and put him on speakerphone. Ryan nodded, dialed his boss and put the phone on speaker. Giles. The man answered. Boss, this is Ryan Jacobs. I'm with Evelyn Stone and her client. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Can't it wait until I get back? Ryan looked at Moran, who smirked. Not exactly. Moran said we have evidence. A police captain is involved in a liquidation for hire and pill distribution scheme. Who is this? Captain Giles asked Cross. Ryan said. Old Cross. No way, he's a top officer. I can't believe it. We have compelling evidence. Ryan said. What kind of recorded phone conversation and incriminating emails? Ryan said. Crap. Giles said. We don't have time for politics. Moran, the liquidation is planned for Thursday night and involves children. Crap, Giles, repeated. You already said that. Moran said. What are you going to do? Fine, Ryan, let Jenkins cover your work for a few days. Focus on this and bring me a solid case in 48 hours. Can you do that? I can do it. Ryan said. Keep this to yourself. Giles said. I'll inform the chief and alert IA if there's substance to this. We'll act quickly. Does that satisfy you, counselor? For now, Moran said, but if anything happens to my client or his kids, I'll make sure you regret it and your re-election will be in jeopardy. Don't worry. Moran Gill said. I'll do my job. I hope so. She said, I really hope so. Ryan gathered his gear. I'd better get started. We need a warrant for your wife's arrest. She's due back Friday. I nodded. Good, I'll arrange for the locals to pick her up. Can I have your number for more information? He asked. I wrote down my number and address and handed it to him. He thanked me and pocketed the paper. We'll also need to search your house. I'll get a warrant and call you when we're ready. Understood, I said. He nodded, shook my hand and left. Moran spoke after Ryan left. This changes your divorce case, obviously. I said, then apologized for my tone. I'm just really pissed off. It's okay, Ethan, I'd be pissed too. Do you want custody in the house? Yes, I said. She won't be able to pay child support in jail. Agreed, we'll figure it out. Go take care of your kids. I will. I said. Bill returned and asked, do you have a security system? Yes, I said. What about security bars on the windows? No, I said. I never wanted them. I understand, but you should get them and armored doors. Now I know a contractor who can install them. You can remove them later. Okay, I agreed. It might slow Cross down. I'll assign someone to patrol outside your house and another inside. Bill said thanks. Also send people to check out Cross's place. He'd recognize me. Got it. Bill said live your life as usual but be extra observant. Thanks, I will. I said. Moran added. Let me know immediately if you hear from Kay or Cross. I will. I promised. Before heading home I visited Cliff and Julie's house for dinner and to see the boys. Julie had lasagna ready. Cliff and I talked while I ate. What's the word, Ethan? He asked. I told him about the threat. He shook his head at the phone conversation between Kay and Cross. Well, the boys are safe here. Do you have a weapon? He inquired. No, I answered. Kay wouldn't let me buy one. Nonsense, he said, and returned with a 12-gauge rifle. Do you know how to use this? I was in the Marines. My dad has a similar rifle. I replied. Good, Cliff said. It's loaded with rock salt. Not lethal, but it'll sting. Take it and use it if needed. Thanks, I said. Anytime. Look, I'm sorry about all this. Cliff said apologetically. It's not your fault. I told him you didn't make her do it. I just don't know how to explain it to the boys. Explain what, Dad? John asked from the doorway. I gestured for him to come over and hugged him tightly. Liam, I've never lied to you and I won't start now. You may hear bad things about your mother soon. I said gently. She cheated on you, didn't she? He asked. I nodded, struggling with how to tell young children their mother is a cheater. Yes, son, she cheated. I confirmed. I hate her. He cried. No, son, don't say that. She's done bad things and she'll pay for them, but she's still your mother. I advised. But you hate her. I can tell, he accused. Damn, I thought, how do you explain that to a 10-year-old? The truth was he was right at that moment. I hated her with every fiber of my being. It's different, son. I told him what your mother did was meant to hurt me. But if she hurt you, didn't she hurt Robbie and me too? He asked, and he was right. She's hurting all of us. I said she doesn't fully realize it yet, but she will in time. John wrapped his arms around me and cried, I love you, son. I said, I love you too, Daddy. He replied. I held him for a long time. Then my phone buzzed. It was Ryan. We're ready to search your house, Mr. McKnight. He said. Thanks, Ryan, I'm on my way. I replied. I explained to Liam that I had to go home. Nathan had come into the room by then, so I hugged both boys, kissed them goodbye and shook Cliff's hand. Julie hugged me at the door and I promised to update them soon. I left with the rifle when I got home. Bill's contractors were finishing the security bars and armored doors. The foreman handed me the keys and I signed the paperwork and paid with my credit card. The iron bars looked better than I expected, but I wasn't sure I wanted to keep them permanently. I walked into the house, unloaded the rifle and set it in the home office. I placed the shell casings in the desk drawer and kept the barrel open. Soon after, Ryan and a few officers arrived. One introduced himself as a DEA agent. Ryan showed me a search warrant and they began searching carefully, returning everything to its place. After an hour, someone called from upstairs. Found something, boss? An officer said. I followed Ryan to the craft and sewing room. The closet door was open, revealing a hidden cutout with 2 large metal boxes. Ryan looked at me. Did you know about this? He asked. No, I stay out of this room. Out of respect for Isabella. I said. Ryan put on gloves and opened the first box, which contained pill bottles and sachets labeled Acme Medical. Isn't that where your wife's boyfriend works? Ryan asked. Yes. I replied. The DEA agent examined the pills. These appear to be Schedule II controlled pills. We'll need to verify, but it looks like several types are here. We need to visit that clinic. Ryan agreed, opening the second box. They found several wads of 100 bills. Looks like your wife has been very busy. Ryan said. I'd estimate about 12 here. I was shocked. Inside the box was an envelope with a bank statement showing another $500 million in a savings account with regular deposits over the last year and a half carefully kept below $10,000. She's been structuring her deposits. Did you know? No idea. I said. Ryan handed the boxes to a technician for fingerprint checks. He found K's laptop on her desk. We need to confiscate this, he said. I nodded. He also found several folders of papers in a drawer and a mailbox key which he bagged as evidence. After searching more, Ryan spoke to me privately. "Ethan, we'll need to designate this room as a crime scene. We'll seal the door when we're done and no one can enter until we're finished. Do what you need to do." I said this could become a federal case. If her boyfriend was transporting pills across state lines, the FBI might get involved. What about Cross? I asked if we find his fingerprints, we'll have a strong case. Stay out of trouble and let us know if anything happens. I will. I said a couple of hours later everyone except Bill and one investigator left carrying boxes of KS stuff. Bill then said my guy saw Cross at a mail store. He pulled out a bag and put what looked like a paper lunch bag in a mailbox. 10 minutes later someone else picked up the bag. We have pictures. The box is registered to Cross. Did you tell Ryan? I asked yes, just before he left. Why would a respected police officer do that? I asked. I have a hunch, but I need to investigate further, he said. Then he introduced the other man, Ethan. This is Peter Green. He'll stay with you tonight and accompany you everywhere. Another man will keep an eye on things outside. I shook Peter's hand. Peter is a former Navy SEAL. If anything happens, follow his lead. Got it. Got it. I said good. Bill said have a good evening and call me if anything happens. We said goodbye and I invited Peter to sit. I made coffee and ordered pizza. We spent the evening eating, watching TV and swapping stories. Peter turned out to be a nice guy. Around 9:00 p.m. I checked KS phone activity and found none. I grabbed my loaded rifle and went to bed making sure Peter was set for the night. I woke up at 4:15 a.m. Tuesday to an email alert. It was from Caleb's address with a video attachment. I watched the video showing Isabella with multiple men. In the video, she looked into the camera and said, "What do you think of your strumpet wife now, creep? My partner, Max, will eliminate you by Friday. Enjoy it while you can. I'll take your insurance money and live how I want. Screw you and your stupid family vacation." She laughed and raised both middle fingers, shocked. I sent the video to Moran and called her. She answered on the first ring. "Good morning, Ethan." She said, sounding sleepy, "Is everything okay?" "No," I said. "I just got a video from Isabella admitting to conspiring to eliminate me." "What?" Evelyn asked, shocked. "Yeah, it's shocking." I confirmed. "Come to my office at 7:30, she said. "I'll be there." I replied I couldn't go back to sleep, so I showered, shaved and got dressed. I made coffee and offered a cup to Peter, who was already awake. I made breakfast and we watched the news while we ate. "I have a meeting with my lawyer early this morning." I said, "You have to accompany me everywhere, right?" "That's what I was told." Peter replied, "Good." I said, "Do you need to freshen up?" "Already did." He said. I grabbed paper coffee cups and poured us each a cup. We left and headed to Evelyn's office. She, Ryan and Bill were there. Evelyn waved us in. "Good morning, Ethan." She greeted me. Ryan nodded a curt morning. "Good morning." I said. Ryan looked exhausted. We reviewed the video. "You got this morning?" Moran said. "It looks like a confession to me." "It does to me too." Ryan added, "There's also a threat of child endangerment." I informed my boss. "What did he say?" I asked. "He agrees with my assessment." Ryan said the LA County Sheriff's Department got the arrest warrant last night and the feds have a warrant for Caleb's arrest. Isabella and her lover will be picked up this morning. My office is expediting the extradition papers now. That was fast. I remarked, "When there's a clear threat to kids, we act quickly." He said. "Thanks to Bill's, investigators and the DEA, we have enough evidence to arrest Cross. They're taking him from his apartment now." Made some progress. Then I asked. Yes, Ryan confirmed Cross had a criminal enterprise which could mean a life sentence. Why? I asked. HEK, a police captain, HEK deep in debt. Bill said his wife divorced him and took everything, barely making ends meet paying alimony. Ryan checked his watch. I need to go. I haven't slept in 2 days. The feds are checking out clinics and are interested in your wife's lover. Call me if you hear anything. I nodded and shook his hand, thanking him. This changes your divorce. Moran said the court won't let her take the kids, especially if she's in jail. Let's wait and see what the court does before suing. As for the biological fathers, I've researched both. Derek Jaku has no real assets, but Dr. Alexander is different. I can start paperwork and maybe negotiate with him. Would you like that? Absolutely, I said. Good, she said. Go home and rest. I'll get back to you. I thanked her and left with Peter following me. Early in the morning I was awakened by loud banging. At first I thought it was in my head, but I soon realized it was the door. I looked at the clock. 5:30 a.m., who would be banging on the door? So early I woke Caleb, who threw on a robe and staggered to the door. Police, open up. I heard that answered my question, but why were they here so early? As soon as Caleb opened the door, several large officers entered, 2 of whom threw Caleb against the wall and handcuffed him. 2 officers approached me in bed. One looks down at me. Are you Kay McKnight? One asked. Yes, I replied, still groggy. Get up, you're under arrest. He said, arrested for what? For conspiracy to commit liquidation and violating federal laws regarding the illegal sale of controlled substances. Now get up. I'm not dressed. Can I at least get dressed? The officer pointed to 2 female officers who pulled something decent from the closet. The male officers turned away as the women handed me jeans, socks, underwear, and a t-shirt. I dressed quickly and they handcuffed me. After reading my Miranda rights, Caleb was already gone. What about my phone? I asked. One female officer took it from the dresser and put it in her pocket. They led me out and put me in the backseat of a police car. The officer with my phone sat beside me and another sat in the front. We went to the station where I was processed and photographed. Can I make a phone call? I asked. The officer pointed to the desk phone. Can I use my phone? I asked again. Sorry, it's evidence. She said, use this one. It took me a moment to remember Ethan's number. He answered after the second ring, clearly angry. What? He snapped. Ethan, it's me. I said, my voice shaking. Holy crap, what do you want? I got arrested. I admitted. Yeah, that's what happens when you plot to liquidate your husband and kids. He said, by the way, they're arresting your partner this morning. Oh no, I thought Mac had said we wouldn't get caught. Please, Ethan, I need help. Yes, you do. Maybe you'll get it in jail until then. Screw you, witch. He hung up, leaving me staring at the phone. I handed it back to the officer. How long am I going to be here? Can I post bail? I asked. No bail has been set. The officer said you are in custody pending extradition to Pittsburgh. Oh my God, I thought. What about Caleb King? The officer checked her computer. Mr. King is being extradited for federal charges in Columbus. This is it. I thought I'm sunk. The officer took me to my cell, where I sat on the cold hard concrete seat, staring at the walls, shocked at how far and fast I had fallen. I finished talking to Isabella and laughed. I couldn't believe her audacity expecting my help. After plotting to eliminate me and the boys, she could rot in jail. I hated her more than anyone or anything in my life. Talk about nerve. I said. Peter nodded. Yeah, we pulled up to my house and went inside. I checked Isabella's phone for any new activity. Nothing. I called. The hotel explained the situation and arranged to have her things packed and sent home. Then we sat in the living room and I turned on the TV. Peter's phone rang and he left the room for a few minutes. Turn on the news. He said when he returned. I switched to the local news channel. A reporter stood outside an apartment building. Captain Nathaniel Cross, a highly decorated police officer, was shot and eliminated early this morning during an arrest related to a conspiracy to sell stolen prescription pills. The reporter said details are limited, but the police chief will hold a press conference later today. My phone rang. It was Bill. Did you see the news? He asked. Saw it. What happened? Cross opened the door and started shooting. The officers returned fire and took him down. So I'm safe now. Let's be cautious. I'd like Peter to stay with you for the week. I don't think Cross had anyone else after you. But better safe than sorry sounds good to me. Have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. I said, ending the call. I looked at Peter. Looks like you're staying here for the week. Need anything? No, I'm good. He said. I sighed in relief. Later that day, Peter and I went to see the boys after dinner. I told them about the day's events. So is Mom going to jail? Liam asked. Looks like it, son. Probably for a long time. He got quiet. I knew being a single parent with their mother in prison would be tough, but I was grateful for supportive relatives. The rest of the week passed quickly. On Wednesday, Evelyn informed me that Isabella had been returned to Pittsburgh and her court hearing was set for Thursday. I made sure to be at the courthouse. I watched as Isabella in an orange jumpsuit and shackles was led in. The judge ordered her detention without bail. She sobbed as she was let out. Her attorney asked if I could bring the boys to visit her. I told him they didn't want to see her. Moran said the divorce papers were ready and asked if I wanted to be present when they were served. I agreed and met the BFF at the jail. Kay was brought to the visiting area, still shackled. She looked up at me and smiled weakly. I just stared at her. The BFF approached and asked if she was Kay McKnight. I am. She replied. He handed her the papers and stepped back. She began sobbing as she read them. Normally I would have comforted her, but not now. I stepped forward and held out a pen. Sign the goddamn papers. W.I. I said, don't I get anything? She asked, tears in her eyes. Not a chance. You won't need anything. Where you're going? Can I at least see the boys? They don't want to see you to us. You're dead. And speaking of dead, your partner was eliminated during the arrest. I heard. Please, Ethan, forgive me. No, I loved you for over 13 years and you repay me with lies, cheating and denying me children of my own. I will never forgive you now. Sign the divorce papers. Sobbing. She picked up the pen and signed the papers. When she finished, I handed them to the BFF. Thank you. He said, I'll return these to Mrs. Stone and she'll file them with the court. I watched him leave, then turned back to Isabella. I just want to know one thing, Kay. What? She asked. Why did you do it? She shrugged. I don't know, because I wanted to and I could, I guess, and look where that got. You're in serious trouble, but it's not my problem anymore. I glanced around the gloomy room. You know, I have a feeling you're going to die behind walls like these, and you know what? No, Ethan, she said, tears welling up. I can't wait to piss on your grave when you do. I replied, echoing her earlier words. She started sobbing, but I didn't care. One last thing for me and the boys. I added what she asked, looking more wistful than ever. I raised both middle fingers. Screw you, witch. I said, turning away. I heard her sobbing uncontrollably as I walked out. Too bad. I thought Kay's liquidation for hire trial went quickly, given the boys were also targets. She was sentenced to 25 years to life. The federal pill investigation dragged on for months, resulting in an additional life sentence. Caleb was also sentenced to life. My boys and I moved on. They never wanted to visit their mother, so I respected their wishes. Cliff and Julie visited their daughter monthly. It took time to adjust to being a single parent, but Cliff and Julie helped a lot. Julie urged me to find a nice girl, but I wasn't ready. After what Kay had done, I wasn't sure I could trust or love again. However, a couple of weeks after Isabella signed the divorce papers, I had a vasectomy reversal, even though the doctor said it might take a while before I could father children. A few weeks later, Moran contacted me with something important. What I asked come by my office. She said when I arrived, she pulled out a bottle of champagne and poured 2 glasses. She handed me one along with an envelope open it. She said I opened the envelope and found a check for $5 million signed by Drive Alexander. Shocked, I asked how did you manage that? I convinced Dr. Alexander it was in his best interest to settle. After pointing out the potentially devastating and embarrassing divorce his wife would likely want and the damage to his reputation, he decided to settle rather than explain why he forced you to undergo an unnecessary procedure. Wow, I said, remind me never to get on your bad side. She laughed. That's your after-tax profit. He also paid all your fees and expenses. He must be very rich. I said he is. She said last year he gave more to charity than this settlement. She raised her glass and I joined her. My self-imposed exile from women lasted 5 years. Then I met Rachel Parker, one of Liam's teachers. Like me, she was a single parent, also divorced and wary of relationships. We dated for a year before I proposed. She said yes and a few months later we married. About a year after that, she gave birth to our daughter, Sarah Jane, named after our mothers. Tears filled my eyes as I held her for the first time. Rachel hugged me tightly, knowing Sarah was the first baby I had fathered. I called the boys and their grandparents into the room and introduced Sarah Jane. They immediately adored her. While Rachel, the kids and I moved on, Isabella's life deteriorated. A few months after her first conviction, she was diagnosed with HIV and separated from the other inmates. She died of AIDS about 13 years later, buried in Potter's Field with only a simple plaque. I wanted to fulfill my promise to pee on her grave, but Rachel convinced me. Otherwise, come sit with me. She said on the back porch. She poured me a cup of chamomile tea. Ethan, I know how hard it was to get over what Kay did, but you have to let it go and move forward. It's hard and it still hurts. I said I know. She said if I thought it would help, I'd go with you and piss on her grave. You know that, right? Yes, I said, but now she's gone and she can never hurt you again. Rachel said Isabella suffered from AIDS almost as long as your marriage. She died alone, unloved and forgotten. She paid the ultimate price. What more can you do? I had to admit she was right. Have you told the boys? She asked. They are in college now. I told JN and Nathan. At first they thought I meant. You then realized it was about their mother. How did they take it? They didn't seem to care. What does that tell you? She asked. They've moved on with their lives. Exactly, she said, and so should you. You've been a great husband and father. You loved and raised Liam and Nathan, even after learning you weren't their biological father. You adopted Mark and raised him too. HEK, a good boy. I said thanks to you. She said he sees you as his father. We watched Sarah playing in the yard. Didn't Isabella want that Caleb guy to give her a daughter? Rachel asked. Yeah, I replied. It felt like ages since that Friday night. Think about it. If she hadn't been so greedy, you could have had a daughter with her and Sarah wouldn't exist. She was right. I kissed Rachel. Just then Sarah ran to us with a white flower. Daddy, look what I have for you. Thank you, dear. I said that woman said you really like them. Sarah said Rachel, and I looked around but saw no one. Which lady? Rachel asked. That one over there. Sarah said, pointing. We saw nothing. Goosebumps ran down my spine. What else did she say? Rachel asked. She said she's sorry for everything and wants you to forgive her. Sarah said, looking at me. I saw the vegetation swaying as if touched by a light breeze. A sudden gust of cold air came and went. I looked at Rachel, tears in my eyes, and nodded. It's time, I said, knowing it was the hardest thing I'd ever do. Rachel smiled and Sarah hugged me. I forgive you, Kay. I whispered, looking up. Sarah hugged me tighter and kissed my cheek. I love you, Daddy. She said thank you. She ran back into the yard. I looked at Rachel, wondering what had happened. She smiled and kissed me. At that moment I felt happier and more content than I had in a long time, as if a huge weight had been lifted. Maybe I thought happiness is the best revenge. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.